cost of a win in the NBA is around $3 million. And when you have a player like Otto Porter who's worth 10 wins above replacement, that's $30 million season. And we can argue, like I said, we can argue that, but those are the numbers. And NBA front offices know that, and the market knows that, agents know that, and that's what we're seeing the value of a player. And that's why the very, very good players are undervalued. You look at Steph Curry, his MVP season is probably worth closer to $50-60 million a year because he has such an impact on the court. Same thing for LeBron, obviously the same thing for Kevin Durant. But because you're in a salary cap, you're limited how much money you can spend. In a non-cap league, Otto Porter could get even more money, and it might even be justified.
Talking to our buddy Neil Greenberg from the Washington Post. You can check out his fancy stats blog. Says that Otto Porter Jr. will be underpaid according to some statistics. What does the signing of Otto do to the Wizards' flexibility in terms of bringing in other players this season or in the future?
Well, it cripples them, and it cripples them over the next couple of years, especially the year that everyone's expecting LeBron James to become a free agent. They're going to have so much cap space dedicated to Porter, Bradley Beal, John Wall, right? 3 players that will probably be on max contracts. Mahimi's contract obviously is an albatross. They got to figure out what to do with Gortat. They can't have these two people coexist at the same time. And the estimated salary cap for that year, it doesn't leave them a lot of money to go out and get another major piece. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. My guess, and this is just a guess, is you probably need to move Bradley Beal in order to bring in a player of a higher caliber to give you a chance at making it through the East. But, three players on a max contract who, look, there's a lot of debate as to did Bradley Beal deserve a max contract. Obviously, there's debate about Otto Porter's max deal. So having 2 of those 3 players like that makes it a little bit iffy. I think the Wizards are going to be in some cap trouble.
Well, see, I'm in the minority here, and we can transition and talk about the caps, but you just said signing Otto cripples them in terms of adding other pieces to the team down the road, and you're saying that the way that you could maybe get to that next level is trade Bradley Beal. Well, Bradley Beal, I don't care about your wins over replacement stat. He's a better player than Otto Porter, okay?
Well, I think it depends. I think it depends on the day.
Just my opinion.
No, I get that, and I'm not. There's some days where you'd be able to convince me, and other days you couldn't. I think with Bradley Beal, we saw that he was healthy, right? That's what fueled a lot of his success this year. Obviously, he can shoot from the 3, but I'm not sure that he commands enough respect. The Wizards don't get a lot of open threes, right? And I think for Bradley Beal to be really successful, you need other players that can kind of draw defenders towards them and create those open looks. I think Porter's the type of guy that can do that because he's got that inside-out game. John Wall's not a good shooter, and by that, players don't defend him as closely as they would, like, let's say, Steph Curry or James Harden, and they have to play more the pass. So just by the nature, they're not up against him as much, and he's not pulling the off-ball defender to him as much. So I think the 3 of them together, I'm not quite sure gives you the product on the court that you want. And part of that again is just how all their strengths are. But look, I mean, I get why you would think that Bradley Beal is better. I'm not quite convinced. But, it's a move, I guess, the Washington has to make at this point to keep this 3 intact. But I do think that it hurts them down the line unless we see another huge spike in the salary cap, which I don't think is happening.
Well, just going forward, you obviously, with the way these super teams are constructed, you have to have 3 stars now. I mean, if you're going to win an NBA title, you have to have 3 stars. Now, Otto Porter's not a star, okay, but he's going to cost you less than a superstar would on the open market. But the question is, if you let Otto walk and you wanted to create more flexibility over the next 2 or 3 years to go out and sign that 3rd superstar, what superstar is going to want to come to Washington? When has Washington ever attracted the big superstars since, Gilbert Arenas? I mean, it just
you're right.
doesn't happen.
You're right, and this is actually strange to me, and this is something that I'm gonna write up either this week or next week, because you want to play with John Wall because he makes other people better. Look at what he does for Bradley Beal. Look at what he does for Otto Porter. So you can argue that John Wall perhaps is more valuable, and you should want to come and play with him. But there's too many other super teams entrenched, and the other byproduct. We talked about it a little bit earlier. These players are making so much money, they don't need money anymore. They can take the minimum or take the exceptions and go to a place that gives them the best chance. I mean, look at what Golden State Warriors are doing. They're just compiling a roster of cast-offs, but there's still guys that can kind of play that would certainly command more money on the open market, but they're taking less to go chase the ring. And I don't see that changing for the next 2 years. So I don't see Washington kind of benefiting from that. If they're going to get a superstar, they're going to have to overpay.